Hello. Okay, so this is going to be a last-minute revision for the skeleton code, AQA A-Level Paper 1, Summer of 2025 examination, and it's TargetClear, and this is a overview of the code in C#. Okay, so I've got the code loaded in. Ready, here it is in Visual Studio, and first of all I'll just talk you through the game. So if we run it, first of all we're asked a question whether we want to enter a Y to play the training game, or if we enter anything else we'll enter into a random game. So I'm going to just enter a random game, so I'll just press return. So the game is, we've got 20 numbers, well, we've got 20 slots here across, 15 numbers and 5 spaces that have been generated, and then we have 5 available numbers that we can enter in to perform calculations to remove some of these numbers. So it's kind of like, if you've not seen the game, hopefully you have, it's kind of like a new maths version of Space Invaders. These things, these numbers move across here, and when they finally reach the left hand side here, it's game over. So we'll just have a quick go at playing the game. So I can see that we can hit that 18 there by going 9 times 3. 18 should be removed. Oh, no. A bit of a maths error there. 9 times 3 is 27, of course. What else can we hit? Oh, can we? Nothing. Oh yeah, let's go for that 40 there. Okay, 4 times 10. You'll see that my score was reduced, by the way, to -1. It kind of demonstrates that anyway. So that has removed that 40. You'll notice that there are 2 40s, or there were 2 40s in that list. Both of those have been removed, so it removes any occurrence of that number. You'll see that as I've missed my missed a target there, they moved over 1, and they've moved over 1 again. The other thing to say here is it's quite good because it's demonstrated what some people say is a bug and some people say is a feature of a bonus score, is that the score was -1. I've hit 2 targets. The score should have increased by 2, but it's gone and increased it by 3. There is a reason for that. I will explain that when we look at the code. Okay, you can put in any kind of oh, you'll also see that the numbers 4 and 10 were removed, but sorry, let's see. Yeah, 4 and 10 have been removed, although it seems to have generated another 4 and 10 and added it to the numbers allowed list. So these are basically the target numbers here, and these are the numbers allowed, and they're so named within the code as well. So can we hit anything else? Can we get that 31 there? Maybe I can redeem myself for my first error. 9 times 3 plus 4 should be 31. And it is. Okay. Actually, there were a few 31s in there. Yeah, there's one there. And oh, yeah, that's it. It's hit 2 of them again. So again, our score has increased by 3, although I've only hit 2 targets. I'm not going to get that 47. I'm going to show you what happens when the game is over. Just another little feature of this program is that if I put a space in the in the calculation, it doesn't evaluate it correctly. So let's see, what can we do? 13. So if I go 10 plus 3 is in the numbers allowed, but I'm going to put a space in it this time and do the calculation like that. So in theory, that 13 should disappear, but it hasn't, and my score has been reduced by 1. If I put 10 plus 3, it has hit it this time. Okay, so spaces aren't allowed. You'll see that 47 is there. I'm not sure I can actually even get that 47, even if I wanted to. Perhaps there's a way of doing it, but let's just hit one of the other numbers anyway. Let's just put a calculation that doesn't hit any of the numbers. So let's go 3 times 5. I don't think there's any 15 in there. You'll see that 47 will move over, and just like in Space Invaders, when they when they get you, the game is over, and the current score is 4. Okay, and that is the only way of exiting the game. If I press return now, the game will end. Okay, so this is the game. We have 2 lists: the number of the numbers allowed and the targets. So if I start the game again, pick a random game. These are the targets. These are the numbers allowed. Those are those 2 lists there. Okay. So next up, we have the number of targets. Well, it allows 20 slots from there to there. If we were to count them, there'll be 20. The maximum target and the maximum number are initialized there, but they're not set. They're set down here. Okay. But they are basically the maximum value of the target. So at the moment, because it's a random game, the maximum value for the numbers is 10, or the numbers allowed, and the maximum value of the target is 50. So these can go from 1 to 50, and these can go from 1 to 10. Okay. Now, you remember that the first up there was a option to choose a training game. Okay, a training game allows you to have the maximum value of 1,000, a maximum target of 1,000, and it has this preset hard-coded list for the targets. If it is a random game, it's, as it says, it will generate random numbers for that, which will come here. So if you choose for a training game, it takes this option. It sets the training game Boolean value to true, and it gets this hard-coded list here for the training game. Otherwise, we've got maximum of 10 and maximum of 50 for the values for the numbers allowed and the target, and the training game is set to false, of course. And then in order to whereas we've hard-coded the list there, we call up this function here to create a list of targets. Okay, so create targets is further down. We'll have a look at that in a minute. We have a maximum number of targets and a maximum target. So that maximum number of targets is currently set to 20, and the max target is set to 50. Okay, so we could change that. We could have 40 targets going across, and we could set this maximum value to 100 here. We might have a go at that in a minute. Okay, so once it's chosen one of those 2 options, we basically call up this function here called fill numbers. Okay, and it populates the numbers allowed list here. Okay, and then we call up the function play game, which we pass over the targets, we pass over the number allowed, so we've got the targets there, the numbers allowed, they're passed over. We have whether it's a training game or not, that was a Boolean value, the maximum target value and the maximum number allowed value. Okay, so far so good. And then once that's finished, we do a console reline and exit the program. So play game, which is what's called up next, is the main engine of the game, really. Okay, so this is where everything happens. It calls up all the procedures underneath it. You probably know already, this game isn't object-orientated programming. You don't have to worry about any of that. Well, unless they ask you to make it object-orientated in the exam on the 11th, but hopefully not, hey. Okay, so first up, in order to create a loop, we've set the game over value as false. So we will do this loop here whilst game over is false. When game over is set to true, it will exit that loop and exit the game, exit the program. We're going to initialize the score to 0. We're going to get an input from the user input, okay? And we also need to convert that user input into this RPN, reverse Polish notation. So hopefully, hopefully at this stage you know what that is. Just in case you don't, if we were to put in this infix value, 9 times 5, the operator between the two instructions is put in between the two. With reverse Polish notation, we put the operator at the end. We say 9 times 5, multiply. Okay, so it gets a bit more complicated than that, obviously, but that's it in essence. So if you're not too familiar with that, might be an idea to revise that before the exam next week, actually. So have a look at that. Okay, that will be put into a list of a string list, because it's got to contain operators as well in that list. Right. First of all, we are going to display the state of the game. So if I just go to the game now, this is the state of the game. Okay, we're going to display that, and that is the state of the game. The function's further down. Oh, shall I go to it? No, we'll leave it for now. But that's basically what it does. It's a series of write lines. Well, it's a series of 3 functions actually, but they're basically write lines, and they take these values and present the the targets list, the numbers allowed list, and the score, and present them to the user. Okay. Then we're asked to enter an expression, which is then put into user input. Okay. Into this string user input, and then a write line is done. So we first of all need to check whether the user has actually put in a valid input. So there's a function for that. A function has been created. We'll look at that in a bit. Check if user input is valid. Okay. If it is valid, we do this, which is we call up a function again to convert the user input into reverse Polish notation. Okay. We then check to see if the numbers used are in the numbers allowed. So, for example, here, those are my numbers allowed. I might do, well, 6 isn't there. I might do 6 times 7. They're not allowed. So I'm going to enter that expression. It's reduced my score by -1, so it's checked that, bombed out, and it's reduced my score by -1, which is done here actually. Okay. You'll notice that score -1, or the decrement of the score, is done outside that if statement. There isn't an else statement there. It's done regardless. That's because if you have been successful in hitting a target, it will add 2 to the score and then drop out of that if statement and subtract 1. So effectively, you will get your score incremented by 2 and then reduced by 1. So overall you've got a 1 score, unless it hits 2 targets. So that particular bug where we hit, well, it's not there now, but where we hit 40 and it produced 2 40s, it gave us a score of 3. It gave us three points for that, and whether that is a bug or not is debatable, but that's what it does, and it does it because it adds 2 and then another 2 and then subtracts 1 with a net score of 4. So it doesn't quite work out, that little way of doing it, for that, unless it's deliberate. So they always used to call bugs undocumented features in my programming days. So we then are going to, once we've checked that the numbers are in the numbers allowed, we will then check to see if the user input evaluation is a target. So in this particular case, what can I do? Yeah, we can hit 9 plus 9, 9 plus 9. I'm not going to do any complex expressions for this video. Make myself look daft. Dafter, I should say. Okay, so 9 plus 9 should hit that 18. So it evaluates that expression, makes it 18, and removes the 18 from the list, and these numbers move across. Okay, so it checks to see if it's a target, and then it removes the numbers used. So it's removed that 18. There was only one of them. It has removed it from that list, and that's the function that does this. We'll look at that again. Again, it passes over the user input because it needs that to know what numbers to remove from the list. We're going to pass over the maximum number, the maximum value of the number. Not sure why they would do that, actually. There might be a reason for it, because we're evaluating this user input. And then we're going to pass over the list of numbers allowed. So it's it's going to remove the numbers from this list, and it's going to remove the numbers from this list. And I think that function, pretty sure that function, remove numbers used, removes it from both lists. Okay, so the score is -1, whether it hits a target or not, for the reasons explained. If we have hit the end of the list, sorry, something I should have explained is, if you look at this training list, there we go. So these blank spaces here are represented by -1. So those, you've got 5 -1s, which means that there are 5 spaces. That is done in the display functions, where it replaces the -1 with a space. So getting back to where we were. Okay, so we've removed the numbers used, and then at the end of it we need to fill some numbers back in. So we're either going to get them from the training numbers list, or we're going to randomly generate new numbers, and that function takes care of that. So you don't need to worry about that now. That is abstracted from us until we look at that function. Okay, so if the -1 reaches the first item in the list, if it's not -1, I should say, that means a number's there. So game over is set to true, and you know, the loop is exited. That while loop is exited. This while loop, okay, is exited. Right. Otherwise, we need to update targets, and there is the update targets, and I think that's where we populate put new numbers into the targets. Shuffle them along that way, and put new values into them. Okay, right, so let's have a look at some of those functions. So first of all, we're going to check if the user input evaluation is a target. So it's passed over the list of targets. It's passed over the reverse Polish notation version of the input. Okay, let's just get rid of that. We don't want any updates now. And it passed over the score by reference. Okay. I wonder if there's an exam question there. Might be worth just checking that you know the difference by ref or by value. Might want to Google that. Okay, so here we go. So first of all, we need to evaluate the RPN. So that's another function, the reverse Polish notation equation. So as we said, if we entered 9 plus 9, that's evaluated to be 18. So the value of 18 is then put into this integer value here. Okay. Now, if something goes wrong with that equation, as in it couldn't evaluate it, it will set it to a -1, a rogue value. Okay. So, it's got that option. But otherwise, in this particular case, 9 plus 9 in the example is 18. First of all, we check to say that we set the default to say it isn't a target, and then if it is a target, we set it to true down here. So the way we do that is we go through the list one at a time by using this count from 0 to the number of targets. Okay, and then we check if each one is 18. Okay, we said 9 plus 9, 18. It goes through all the targets to check to see if it is 18, if there's a target 18. If it is, this is the bit we were talking about, it increases the score by 2. Okay, not 1, it increases it by 2 and then takes 1 off later on. And then it replaces it with a -1, the item in the list, which of course is a space. Okay, and it then sets the Boolean value to true, which it then returns to say yes, it is a target. Okay, and that's passed over to the play game function. Okay, then we need to remove the numbers used. So this will get the user input, the maximum number, and the numbers allowed. So it removes it from the numbers allowed list. Apologies, I think if I earlier said it removed it from both lists, it doesn't. It just removes it from the numbers allowed list, the numbers that you're allowed to make calculations with. Okay, again, it does this by doing a for each string item in the reverse Polish. Oh, yeah, it converts it to reverse Polish notation. Okay, by using this function here that's written further down. It then goes through that input one item at a time, and then it checks to see if the number is valid. That means, is it within range of 0 to whatever the maximum number is by the look of it. Look at that in more detail in a minute. If it is in range, then it will check to see if it is in the list. If the list is, if it's contained within that list, it then removes the item from the list. Okay, from the list of numbers allowed. Okay, so that's the numbers allowed list where we're removing items. Then next up, we are going to look at the update targets. So this simply means that it goes through the whole list and moves them along right. So I hit the 18 there in that particular example. You can see that 15 is now in the slot that 18 is in. 4 is now in the slot that 15 was. So it's moved them one across, and it does that by doing this for loop and then moving the count plus 1 into the count of the target. So it effectively shuffles the list along. That may not be the best way of doing it. Might be a queue type of function that you might be able to use there. Okay. Okay, and then targets removes the one to the left at the end. Okay, if it's a training game, it's going to add a new target at the end of the list. So you can see here that 6 was the end of the list there. 6 has been moved along. That space has now been occupied by 27, and that is done here. So if it's a training game, where are we? If it's a training game, I think it will get that value from the list, but otherwise it randomizes it, and that's taken care of in here in this in this get target function, which we'll look at in a minute or in a few minutes. Okay, next function that has been written turns a boolean, and it is check numbers used are all in the numbers allowed. So you're not allowed to use numbers outside this range of numbers in the calculation. So this is where it checks for that. And it does it by creating a new temporary list. Okay. And then it adds all the numbers that were in the numbers allowed list to the temporary list, one item at a time. Okay, so this list here is also then populated into the temp list. It has to put it into the temp list because you'll see here it goes through the user input. If it finds well, first of all, it checks to see if the number's valid. Once it's done that, if the one of those numbers is contained in the temp list from the user input, it then removes it from the number input. Okay, so obviously you don't want to do that to your main numbers allowed list. You remove it from there, and the reason is that you can't use these numbers more than once, I should say. Okay, so you can't say 5 plus 5 plus 5 is 15. You can't do 5 plus 5 plus 5. I'm using it more than once, so that will fall foul of this little routine here, because it will find it contained in there. It will remove the first 5, and then it will only be looking to see if 8, 10, 7, and 8, 5, 8, 10, 7, and 10 are in that list. Okay, so if any of those numbers aren't contained in there, it will just bomb out of the function and return a false value. Otherwise, it returns a true value. If it's gone all the way through this user input and found all the numbers, then it returns true. Okay. Right then, next one is to check to see if the number is valid. Okay, so not only does it check to see if it's in range, okay, it does that. It does, well, actually, it doesn't. Does it check? Yeah, it does check to see if it's within range on this if statement here. But before it even does that, it does this here. That is the regular expression library, and it's checking to see if there is a match. So let's just have a look what that means. So let's go into Copilot, and what is this? Okay, so that expression is evaluated by saying that that is the start of a string, the dollar is the end of the string, and then what it's saying is we're allowed one or many 0 to 9s. So, for example, we're allowed 1 9, we're allowed 2 9s, just as long as there's more than one, or we're allowed an 8 or a 0. Okay. It could be allowed all 8s. Okay. Those are valid within that expression, regular expression. So again, if you want to be a bit savvy or looking for things to revise, do make sure you've looked up regular expressions. So I've just gone past there now. Okay, so it converts it to an integer because, of course, the item is currently held in a string, so we want to convert that to an integer using the convert to int32. We are then checking to see if the number is in range. If both those two conditions are true, we return true. Otherwise, we bomb out and return false as the Boolean output from this check valid number. Right, okay, so this is the display state that we were talking about. Rather than the series of 10 write lines, the author of the program has decided to split it up into 3 separate functions. One to display the targets, one to display the numbers allowed, and one to display the score. So helpfully they've, or unhelpfully, I don't think they've put these in the same order that they've put them in here. We've got display score first off, which is the last one. That just displays the score. It's passed over as a parameter and it's then displayed. The display numbers allowed does this slightly well, it does this for loop here. Okay, it shows you what numbers available on a write, then it goes through the numbers allowed. So these are kind of like in reverse order actually of what are listed in here. So that's the numbers allowed. We've got 2 write lines after both of those there, and then finally we've got the display targets. So if you remember, we've got the pipe between each target. We've got we go through each of the items within the target. If it's a -1, remember, that represents a space in the targets. Otherwise, we display the actual amount. We don't display the -1. Okay, and then we put the pipe at the end of it, and it does that for all the targets, and then at the end does a write line to end the line, and then another write line to put a space in between the two. Okay, so that's that. Getting hopefully towards the end. This is the convert to reverse Polish notation. So we get the user input and convert it to reverse Polish notation. So we do this by getting the position of the user input, and we need precedence. If you remember BODMaths or BIDMaths, however you want to call it, that we automatically know how to do, or should automatically know how to do, with infix notation. We are going to create, well, we've created, the author of the program has created a dictionary with the plus, the minus, the star, and, well, the multiply and the divide. And then the preferences, the order of precedence is a value of 2 for those and a value of 4 for those. So the higher this number, the higher it is in the order of precedence. So a multiply will be done before a minus, for example, in the expression. It could have just used 1 and 2 there for those numbers. Maybe it's left a gap because you can then stick in some sort of something else that might be in between them, whatever it is. Okay, So here we go. We create the list of operators, which is plus, minus, multiply, and divide. And then we create a separate list for the operands. Okay. And there, so we've got operands and operators, and we're going to add those in separately to separate the numbers and presumably bolt them on at the end. The operators and bolt them on at the end. Okay, in their order of precedence. Okay, so it goes. It checks to see if it's within the length. Okay. Convert the current operator, the user input, to a string, and then go through checking the precedence, I should say. Okay, and we remove them from the count. Okay, we then add the operators to the user in RPM. Okay, so a little bit slightly cleverer code there. You might want to just go through that, make sure you understand it maybe slightly better than I do at this stage, or I'm explaining it, I should say. Okay, just maybe follow that through, just trace it through how that works if you're anticipating a question on that. Okay, so at the end we've got this else statement. Okay, so at the end of it we are adding the operators to the user input and then removing it from the operators list. Okay, and then we're returning it. Right, here we've got the evaluate the expression. So 9 times 9, or 9, sorry, let's see, 5 plus, let's go for one that we did. 9 plus 9 is 9, 9 plus. So that should equal 18. It's evaluated it, and it's removed that 18 from that list there. Okay. So this is where it evaluates it. Again, it creates a list, S. It goes through the RPM list. Okay, and removes let's just have a look at that again. Okay, yeah, okay. So it's then removing it from the first. It's basically shuffling this around here, and then we have to convert it to a double. Okay, the reason for that is we want floating point, because within the expression there might be a divide. So 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, multiplied by 4 is 10. If you were to do that without the integer, it would equal 8. So you've got to make sure that even though there are only integers within the targets on the numbers, you do need to be able to deal with the division within this bit here. So it goes through if the two numbers, if the operator for the two numbers is a plus, it performs the plus here and break, it does this switch case here. So if it's a plus, it does that. If it's a minus, it does that. If it does a star, it does that. It does a forward slash, it does the division between the two numbers. and then at the end we need to convert it back to an integer and return it. If something has gone wrong with this, we return a -1, a rogue value. Okay, nearly there. So next up, get number from user input. So the user has inputted their string of characters into that, and we are going to go through it. So we set the number to null. More digits is a Boolean value to go through this while loop. We've set it to true, and then eventually it'll become false when we reach the end of the list, and we bomb out of the while loop. So again, there's another regular expression here, checking to see if the number is within a 0 and 9. If it is, we're going to increment the this number here. Sorry, we're not going to increment it. We are going to add the user input to that number. Otherwise, we're going to set. We may as well bomb out of it, and if it's not a valid number, no point in going through the rest of the list. So we set more digits equal to false. Then we increment the position number within the string length. If we have if the position is equal to the length, that means we've reached the end of the list. So the end of the user input. So we set that to false. Okay. And then that will exit that. Okay, so if the number has ended up being a null still, because we set it to a null at the beginning, and if it's not been changed, we return a -1 because something's gone wrong. Otherwise, we return the number as an integer. Okay. Next function is check if user input is valid. Okay, there's another regular expression here. So let's go to this. I think I'll say please this time, just in case AI ever takes over. I'll remember. I was the one that said please. Okay, so again, we've got the start of the string, the end of the string. We have one or more numbers. We then have any one of those operators, and then we also have a number. We have 2 brackets there, so it will do this as many times as you want. So you can have 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, but you then must end with a number, one or more numbers. So that is the match for the regular expression. Okay. Okay, so those are some examples that Copilot has helpfully said that we could use. Okay, so all good so far. So we're checking to see if the user has entered a valid expression there. This is the bit where we get a new target. It randomizes a number between 0 and the maximum target, and then it adds 1 on it, because we don't want a 0 in that list. No point in having a 0 in the numbers allowed list, and you know, we've got to keep that. And then we're also going to get a number for the numbers allowed list. So I think that is to generate, that one is to generate a new target, that one is to generate a new numbers allowed. Okay, this is the bit where we create the targets at the beginning of the game. This is the function for that. We're told the size of the targets and the maximum value of a target. So that, if you remember, was set to 20, I think, 50 by default, and then the maximum target was, oh no, size of targets is 20, and the maximum target is 50. Okay, so it does this by creating a new list of targets. It first of all generates 5 blank spaces represented by the -1, and then it generates the size of targets, which was 20, -5, which is 15. It generates 15 random numbers, which is the get target, which was just there. Okay. Right. This bit, is it last function? Yeah. Okay. Fill numbers. Okay. So this fills the numbers allowed. Okay. So there's 2 options within this. The list is passed across, the maximum number is passed across, and then if it's a training game, we populate the numbers with those numbers hard coded. Otherwise, we are going to generate random numbers to add to the list to replace the numbers that we use, and we are going to return the numbers allowed list back. And that is the end of the program. So we'll have a look in hopefully in a future video or in the next video on how to make some small changes to this program to get the feel of editing it. Okay, bye for now.